Pre-game check-in, I got 98-93 Toronto. That's my call. I tweeted it out from the Toronto Hoop Talk Twitter account, so I'm not lying. Let's see what happens. Hope it goes well. All right, it's halftime. Quick check-in with you guys. Raptors down 6, 57-51. Gonna try to keep it really quick. I like what I've seen from Siakam. I like what I've seen from Koloko as a rookie. Don't love what I've seen from OG. Don't love what I've seen from Juancho. Everyone else has had their good moments and had their not good moments. But as a whole, it's just been a sloppy half of basketball from the Raptors. It's the first game of the season, if there ever was one. A lot of stuff that I would say, like, you don't have to worry about continuing up until like game 30 or so. A lot of the sloppiness on the court that we've seen right now in terms of turnovers, in terms of poor defensive possessions, I expect these things to get cleaned up as the season goes on. What I will say, though, my big takeaway is I don't think Pascal Siakam has asserted himself onto this game yet. He's having Donovan Mitchell guarding him a lot of the time, and that's a mismatch. That's a mismatch I think he could very easily take advantage of, but I think literally it being the first half of the season, I don't think he's trying to make this game about himself yet. I think down the stretch he will, and I think that's when things will really take off. But at this point, like, he has 15 points on 6 of 10 shooting, but I don't really think he's even necessarily tried to take over yet, and that'll happen at some point, I think. So that's my call for the second half. But yeah, I'm kind of shocked to see that Donovan Mitchell is who they want to put on Siakam, but I think credit to Siakam. Like, this is a sign of maturation as a player, somebody understanding that this is a good time to get his teammates going. This is a good time to get people shots, to try to get people in a rhythm. And it's not necessarily working out for people, but like, there's no need for Siakam to press and like make this game about him so far. So that's I think that's all I have to say about the first half so far. I do still think we'll pull this game back, but yeah, we'll see. See you guys at the end of the game. Game over. Raptors win 108-105. Boy, that win feels good. I did not expect for them to pull out the win. Throughout the third and the beginning of the fourth, it looked like Cleveland was going to take the game away. It didn't feel like at any point we could really like grab hold of momentum. We would have a little run, cut the deficit wherever it was at by like 5, but then Cleveland would restore a lead. And there were a few points where they had 8-point leads in that stretch. But to be fair, we did really, really well in the last 10 minutes. I got to give Donovan Mitchell credit because once Garland left the game, I thought Donovan Mitchell being on the ball wouldn't have been good for the Cavs. I thought that he could do well. I didn't think he was as good of a playmaker as he was. He did, I think, a pretty good job. What did he finish with? He finished with 10 assists. See, I would have not predicted that. But hey, got to tip my hat to him. He had a pretty good game. As for the other takeaways, Jared Allen, I talked about him being a good rim protector in the preview, and boy, he showed it today. He had a couple really big blocks at the basket in the second half, and just generally you could tell the Raptors were kind of tentative around the basket. That's the type of intimidation factor that comes with a player like Jared Allen. But look, that's enough of Cleveland. As far as the Raptors go, Siakam was a player that I called at halftime would come in the second half and take over. But to be fair, that didn't really happen. He had 15 at halftime. He only finished with 23. He fouled out with his 5th and 6th fouls being complete nonsense. I did not think either of those were fouls, but it is what it is. The referees were really bad today. But all things considered, like, I think mid-season form, I would expect more from Siakam. It's the first game of the season, so, like, who cares? Still think he showed enough. I'm still happy with his performance, all things considered. Gary Trent had a really good game, I'd say. He shot fairly efficiently, 4 for 8 from 3, made a couple big threes in the fourth. I was pretty happy with his day overall. Now, OG Anunoby, I was critical of at halftime. He had a very good finish to the game. Last 10 minutes of the game, I thought he was really, really good. And that's all things considered. Defensively, he really stepped up. He had a couple good passes to set guys up for baskets. I think he made 1 3, and I think he had another big basket. He got Jared Allen to foul him at one point to get to the free throw line, so all things considered, Anunoby had a very good last 10 minutes. And hey, that's the most important time in the game. So again, if this was the midseason, I'd look at this game from OG and be like, that's not that good. But it's the first game of the year, so you take it. Fred VanVleet, led us in minutes, 38 minutes, and I know his minutes were something that people would talk about a lot. One thing I would say about Fred is that Fred had an off-ball role a lot more than I remember him having last year. So it almost kind of felt like his minutes were less exhaustive. There was less him having the ball, doing a ton of dribbling, and more him being off the ball, standing around at the three-point line, obviously moving, but it felt like I didn't feel like you could see Fred VanVleet getting tired at any point. Not that he ever necessarily looked out of shape at any point last year, but I thought Fred still had legs by the end of the day. I didn't think he had to work too hard, and I think that's a pretty good representation of what his new role is going to be. And these might be some of the efforts that Nick Nurse touched on earlier in the offseason about trying to get his minutes down and getting him to last the whole year. Scotty Barnes, I think he had a pretty standard Scotty Barnes game. Little bit of everything. All things considered, pretty happy with him because I think he played some of his best basketball towards the end of the game. Precious Achiuwa, again, I wasn't too happy with his day overall, but being the first game of the year, won't be too critical. I think he hit one shot in the last 10 minutes that was big, a part of our run to make the comeback. Christian Koloko. So for a rookie, I was really happy with his day for a rookie. Now, I mentioned, I think in the season preview, that I felt that Christian Koloko or Kem Birch, one of them would get 15 minutes a game, right? In this game, Kem Birch is injured. Christian Koloko plays, and guess how many minutes he plays? Exactly 15. And in those 15 minutes, right, you can see that Christian Koloko is not a polished basketball player. However, he is a physical specimen. 7'1", moves really well. He's not particularly strong, but I wouldn't say he's a pushover either. Athletic, he had a putback on a Siakam miss, and you could just tell he was impacting the game. His presence around the basket on both ends of the court is something nobody else could provide. And he did change the game being there. Like, at the end of the day, physical traits impact basketball games. And when you have somebody who's that big with that kind of reach, it opens up different possibilities. Like as a pick and roll threat, as a drop defender, just his size simply being on the basketball court was advantageous for us. So I'm really happy with his performance. Again, these are the first 15 minutes of his NBA career. And with that context being factored in, really happy with his day. Thad Young, 10 minutes. Can't say a whole lot about his performance. Delano Banton, 9 minutes. Also not really too involved in the game. Juancho, 7 minutes. His 7 minutes weren't good. Actually, with Thad Young, what I would say is that, there was more bad than good. But again, I don't want to be too critical of the first game. As a whole, we played average. We got the win. The refs were terrible. We were missing Otto Porter Jr., Chris Boucher, and Thad Young? No. And Kem Birch, sorry. So Otto Porter Jr., Otto Porter Jr., Kem Birch, and Chris Boucher. That's probably two of our key bench players. I would say Koloko is probably somebody who did what Birch would do in terms of impact, so that's not really a miss. But we missed 2 bench players. The referees were terrible. We played average. We played a team that's supposed to be better than us, right? Cleveland was a team that looked really promising. They were ahead of us in the standings up until the end where they got hit with injuries. Then they fell behind us. And then they added Donovan Mitchell, right? So this is a team that's generally considered to be a contender for the top 4 seeds, a team that's supposed to take steps forward. They were missing Darius Garland, and to be fair, that's definitely a big miss. But what I would say is that, all things considered, very good first game. And yeah, way different than last year's first game, I tell you. That loss against Washington really, really hurt. So it's just good to have a feel-good game to start the season. And hey, it was weird because at the end of the game, we went from being down 8 to being up 6, and then we let Cleveland back in. And those are moments where usually as a Raptors fan, some PTSD kicks in, and you begin to kind of feel like, oh shit, we're going to do something to mess this game up. And if it's not us, the referees will do something. And the referees really started to do some bullshit. But all things considered, we ended up figuring it out in the end. by hook or by crook, we made it happen. It kind of restored that feeling like this is the Nick Nurse Raptors, right? This isn't the Raptors of old. This is a team that's going to get it done in those really, really big moments at the end of games where games are decided. And we did that ultimately today. So I'm not going to complain whatsoever. I'm going to focus on the good things. I'm really happy with today's game, and I can't wait for the next game. Who do we play? We play Brooklyn on Friday. Brooklyn played today. What did they do? Ooh, Brooklyn lost by 20 to the Pelicans. See, that's another opportunity. That's a chance to go 2-0. So yeah, that is my in-the-moment ramble about what happened today on the basketball court. If you guys noticed anything that I may have missed, if you guys have your own comments, be sure to drop them in the comment section. Be sure to like the video, share the video as many places as you can on all socials. Subscribe to the channel, show support, give me some feedback. I'm really excited to do this game-based content this year. And what a game to start it out. Take it easy, don't let the referees piss you off too much, and I'll see you guys around for the next game. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments, and find me on all socials at Toronto Hoop Talk.